Hey, what's going on, guys? Coach Seth here. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to actually increase your vertical instantly. In my opinion, there's only one way to increase your vertical instantly, and that's going to be to change your mechanics of your actual vertical jump. A lot of times it's that small, simple fix of the form of your jump that can increase your vertical sometimes by multiple inches. So this can make a big difference when it comes to your vertical jump. So I wanted to go over a couple main points for your jump. So if you're new here, my name is Seth Thomas and I'm a strength and conditioning coach for basketball. So if you're interested in taking your game to the next level, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload. And as always, make sure to check the description for free downloads and free programs. So make sure and check those out if you're interested as well. Okay, so there's a couple different types of jumps, right? So I'm not gonna go over all of them just because that would be too long of a video, I think. Make sure to post in the comments below if you want me to digest a certain way of jumping. But for this video, we're going to talk about the 2-foot approach jump. And I'm not going to be too specific, so either left, right, or right, left, whichever one you are. I think you need to be training for both of these and practicing both of these. Don't just fall in love with what you're comfortable with and then just continue doing that. Make sure to get both of these. But let's say you're trying to find your max 2-foot approach jump. Going to what you're comfortable with is going to get you that higher verticals. Before I go any farther, I want to make sure you guys understand that this is just a guide, okay? This is not a one-size-fits-all approach, because this guide doesn't work with everybody. You kind of just have to figure out what works best for you. So I encourage you to try a lot of different ways of jumping, but this is like a basic guideline and a good way to help prevent injury as well, because it's kind of like more of the right way to do it. But just keep in mind, this isn't going to be the best way for everybody. So there's a couple different points I want to talk about with this. There's quite a bit of things that go into this, but let's just talk about how we are going to do this. So the 2-foot approach jump is, let's say we're jumping left, right. We're going to take one step with your right foot and then let that lead into your left, right jump. So first off, that first initial step with that right foot, it's not going to matter too much. But what I see happen a lot, kids kind of just slowly go into that last 2 steps, like they take a couple steps and then go right into it. The goal with vertical jump, especially with your approaches, is to transfer your horizontal energy and momentum vertically. Okay, so whenever we do that, what does that mean? That means we need to move horizontally faster, especially if you're used to just slowly building up those steps. So with that right step, it needs to be quick too. You're not going to make it as quick as the next step, but we're building into it. And this is the step where you want to start to absorb. We're not getting low right now, but we're starting to absorb, basically preparing our body to transfer this energy. Then we're going to get into that next step, and this one is called the penultimate step, and that just means the last step of your approaches. So the penultimate step is the step that separates your right foot from your left foot in this example. Once again, I see all the time is this step is very small. People kind of just don't think much about the build-up and the approach, and they think, well, it's all about just jumping up, right? It's not that hard. But this penultimate step is very important, and we want this step to be long. It's not necessarily the longer the better, but I like to say long because most people's are just too short. It needs to be pretty long. You don't need to be fully extended at the knee or anything, and you don't want to bound into this step. Like, you don't want to hop into this step. It's all about absorption, but whenever your leg is at the right length, that gives you the best chance to absorb as much energy and transfer it upwards. So after that step, we are putting our right foot down basically immediately. So it's left, right, immediately. We don't want to be slow with this step. We're trying to create force, right? So it has to be quick. With our feet placement, I like them to be somewhere around hip width apart, maybe a little bit closer than hip width. Again, just whatever feels more natural to you. So, all right, so there are three main joints when it comes to vertical jump. There's three main joints that the energy needs to be transferred through. We got the ankle joint, the knee joint, and the hip joint. Those are the three main ones there. So what I like to do, now there are a lot of different types of jumpers, like I said earlier. What I like to do is make all of those joints at relatively the same degrees, because I think the goal should be to evenly distribute all of the force through each of the joints. So your hip flexion should probably be somewhere around 90 degrees. Okay, so this is 90 degrees, but this isn't how it looks. We are more bent over like this. So I would say this is kind of where you want your hip hinge to be. And the knee flexion, I think, needs to be somewhere around 90 degrees as well. Maybe a little bit higher than 90 degrees, maybe somewhere around 100 degrees. So it might look something like this or this. So sometimes it's not as bent as the hips. So there are some people that are more hip dominant and can get higher off of increased hip flexions. Say this is the guideline I'm given, and some people can jump higher with their hip flexion right here. And then vice versa. Some people are more quad dominant. In that case, they would need to bend their knees more. So they would be about like this, and then their chest would be a little bit more upright. I like to try to be right in the middle, so that's kind of why I'm separating these like that. And as far as the ankle joint, it's probably going to be somewhere around 45 degrees, maybe a little bit higher than 45 degrees, because our feet are normally flat, but what happens is we kind of come up on the balls of our feet a little bit, and then our knees come up this way. So this is more of like a 45-degree angle. So this is the one that is a little bit different, but for what we have with that joint, it's as even as it could be with the other two joints. So that's just kind of my breakdown of how I like our body to look whenever we are jumping. And the last thing I'll talk about is your arm swing. So we can generate a lot of force with our arms alone. If you can utilize your arms in the right way, I understand that we're not always going to be able to if we have a ball in our hands, but we're just talking if we're in a situation in a game and we don't have the ball in our hand. So you want your arm swing. The idea is to get them probably about shoulder height. So the problem with that is going to be if you don't have the flexibility in your shoulder joint, that's going to make it a little bit limited. I would say just get them up pretty much as high as they go. Like I said, you don't want to go too far, because if you go too high up, and then that kind of just disrupts the momentum a little bit, and we don't want that. But what I like to do, and I don't see a lot of people do this, so I don't think this is going to be the best way for everybody, but what I like to do whenever your arms are at that peak, I like to add a little circle to that arm swing. Rather than just changing directions, rather than just going back and then straight back up, I like to go back and maybe just slightly out and then do the slight arm swing. Now we don't want to go all the way up and around like that, because all that's going to do is slow down that progress of the arm swing. What we want is to increase that torque swing, that torque of going around in that half circle. So I like to think of it like whenever you're changing directions on the basketball court, you're going from one spot to another. If you were to do that rather than go in a small circle and then speed back the other way, you're going to find that you reach your top speed a lot faster whenever you do the little circle with the run rather than the change in direction. Now, I'm not saying you need to avoid change of the directions, because we need to be training that, because we do that all the time in basketball. So don't avoid training that. But I'm just saying, if this is how we get to our top speed faster, is by doing that little mini circle whenever we're sprinting. So that's how I like to break down the 2-foot approach jump. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you want me to break down another type of jump. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video, and I'll see you guys next time.